And now, a word from our sponsor. Audible is the world's largest collection of audiobooks. With Audible, you can listen to audiobooks wherever and whenever you want. Does that sound familiar? Audible is without a doubt one of the biggest sponsors on YouTube, sponsoring some of the biggest creators on the platform. Just to clarify, this video isn't actually sponsored by Audible. I do wish it was though. I have been a member on Audible for 3 years now. It all started with a complete collection of Sherlock Holmes, and since then I've been using Audible on and off, collecting and listening to tons of different books. So you could say that I am somewhat qualified to review the platform. And in those 3 years, I noticed and became aware of a critical flaw. The value of audiobooks comes from the fact that you can listen passively while doing other stuff, removing the barrier of actively having to read a book. You can listen to audiobooks while driving, cleaning, or cooking, adding variety to those mundane tasks and making it easier than ever to learn about new things. Before audiobooks, you would have had to sit down and commit time and focus on actually reading the book. You couldn't read while cleaning because, you keep moving around. You couldn't read while driving because it takes too much focus. Reading is an intense activity that requires a lot of attention to keep up with the author. And that is exactly the problem with audiobooks. Audible makes us feel like we can read books and learn about new subjects passively, when in reality, it takes a lot of attention to truly learn something new. I listen a lot to audiobooks while driving because it's convenient and entertaining. This past week, I've been listening to a fantastic book on negotiation, but I found myself constantly rewinding the book because I either didn't hear or understand what the narrator was saying. This happens for one of two reasons. Either something happens in traffic requiring your attention, so you naturally move your attention to the road so that you get off at the right exit, or just avoid an accident. Or perhaps the narrator says something that beckons you to think about it. Maybe they said something that's in conflict with your existing beliefs, forcing you to reconsider everything. Or maybe they just reminded you of something, leading your thoughts down a tangent. This happens a lot to me, and I find myself 2 minutes later having registered nothing the book said in those 2 minutes. Of course, you can just rewind the book and re-listen to those parts like I do, but that doesn't solve the more fundamental problem. Those tangents and conflicts of beliefs are important to the learning process. When you ignore those distractions to move forward in the book, then you're not really learning, you're memorizing. It's the difference between knowing something and understanding it. Knowledge is being able to take a quiz or a test. Understanding is being able to apply and use that information in the real world. When you understand something, you can use it outside of predefined circumstances. You can morph and transform the information so that it becomes applicable in all kinds of situations. The educational industry has been moving from teaching knowledge to teaching understanding for many years now, because understanding something is infinitely more valuable than knowing it. When your thoughts go down a tangent or you try to reconcile the difference in beliefs between you and the author, that is when you move from knowing something to understanding something, and that process takes time. How much time is entirely dependent on the person reading, but audiobooks don't provide that time. Audiobooks don't move at a certain pace, they don't stop to let you think. When your thoughts go down a tangent, the narrator just keeps on reading. But when you're reading a book, you are entirely in control of the process. When you have or want to think about something, then your brain naturally moves your attention to that and stops reading, allowing you to pick up where you left off once you sort out your thoughts. Learning through Audible is really just memorizing. Audiobooks let you learn to know something, but not to understand it, which is exactly why I've decided to use Audible in a different way. Instead of using audiobooks to learn about and understand a subject, I use it to vet the books I want to read. I have started buying physical copies of the audiobooks I found valuable, so that I can read them thoroughly and truly understand what they're trying to teach me. Yes, it can be considered a waste of money to buy a book twice, but it saves me from having to spend a ton of time and energy reading a bad book. This way I only have to commit time to books I know are worth it. I have no doubt that Audible has taught me many important and useful things throughout the last 3 years, and I am looking forward to the next 3. But more than anything, I'm looking forward to understanding the books I've found important throughout the last 3 years, so that I can transform my life even more in the next 3. So thank you, Audible. You're one of the best services I've had in my life, but you're not perfect.